So I was late to the party, but I finally watched Wednesday and I actually really enjoyed it. It wasn't something I was particularly excited for. I remember enjoying the one with Christina Ricci in it when I was a kid, but I'm like not the hugest Addams Family fan, and I'm also not the biggest Tim Burton fan. Sacrilegious, I know. I don't hate him by any means. He's just like pretty low on my list of like iconic directors that like most people can pull out of their pocket. But when you take into account his recent catalog not being that great, honestly, a lot of it hasn't even been good. Here's looking at you, Dumbo. But the Addams Family is a realm that he should be super comfortable and happy in. It's weird, it's creepy, it's slightly adjacent from reality. It's all the stuff you know and love him for, and I was super happy to find that it didn't suck and it was actually quite good. It's not perfect, but I'm also not exaggerating when I say that it's pretty much what all of these different like paranormal style young adult television shows should be aiming for. Because outside of focusing on Wednesday Addams as an individual, Wednesday is a mystery, and mysteries keep people around as long as they're done right, or mostly right. And largely that's what Wednesday managed to do. They give viewers enough to work with to come up with their own theories, but then throw in enough logical wrenches that you might start second guessing some of your choices. And then they get to kind of play with the audience perception of reality compared to what the character knows as they're giving us information. For example, in the first episode, we are shown that Wednesday has visions. Sometimes they're visions of things that haven't happened yet, and sometimes they're visions of things that have. They're prompted by her touching different items and people, but she doesn't tell anybody about them, but once it's revealed, we're told that these visions aren't guaranteed to be accurate. So in the moments where Wednesday's acting on them with 100% certainty, we're always gonna have that like, maybe this is being interpreted wrong thought in the back of our mind. Which is good when mysteries subvert our line of thinking but still throw us out enough information to solve it, and don't just throw out something stupid at the last second like Dan being Gossip Girl. It's rewarding. Though I do think that some of the plot around the mystery gets a little bit too convoluted in areas, and it definitely should have been simplified. Like, guys, it's 8 episodes, it's a fun and easy watch, like you don't have to be this messy. But you know what isn't messy? Hanging up today's sponsor, Displate. Displate are durable metal posters designed to satisfy your geeky pleasures. They have 1.3 million designs across numerous franchises from pop culture and entertainment, so that you're guaranteed to find the perfect piece for you. They're super easy to hang up with just a sticker and a magnet, come in a variety of sizes, and for every one sold, they plant a tree where it's needed most. And if you use code ATJedi, you can save 20% off 2 and 30% off 3 or more. So make sure to click the link in the description down below to check out Displate for yourself, or head on over to tl.gg/displateamanda. So following the attempted murder of the water polo team, to be fair, they were bullying Pugsley, so one could argue that he deserves to have his testes eaten off. Wednesday is sent to Nevermore Academy to avoid catching an attempted murder charge.
How would that have looked on your record?
Terrible. Everyone would know I failed to get the job done.
And she's very upset to be going here. She hates her parents for sending her away. She hates that she's going to the same school they did to essentially live in her mother's shadow. And she's pretty set on running away until the mystery starts to build and she becomes directly involved and narrowly escapes death twice. So when establishing the backbone of the story, there's a couple conflicts implemented right in that first episode. There's a monster prowling around the city of Jericho, killing hikers initially, but eventually crossing over to the students at the school and later revealed to be removing body parts from each victim. And another student, Rowan, thinks that Wednesday is going to cause the destruction of the school and everyone in it. So she's both trying to figure out what that might mean and who the monster is. And of course, these conflicts will start to connect and grow. We're given enough options and red herrings into what's actually happening to keep us engaged. Even though by the end of it, the monster was exactly who I thought it was, they managed to like toss in enough fake outs to make me start to like doubt myself a little bit, which is great. But before fully diving into that, let's go over the characters and their setting. As mentioned, Wednesday gets sent to Nevermore Academy, a school for outcasts, so vampires, werewolves, sirens, gorgons, magic users, and apparently weirdo normies. The most famous alumni is Edgar Allan Poe himself, because why not? We know that Wednesday's having psychic visions, but no one else knows that yet, so she is literally just here because she's weird and tried to murder someone. checks out. The school is obviously notorious amongst the townspeople. They have issues with the outcasts because like maybe some of them are just a little bit dangerous, but also just general prejudice. But there's this weird symbiosis where the school just kind of like largely lets themselves be discriminated against, showing up for occasional town events because the town also mostly protects them as they fund a lot of the infrastructure. Which brings us to the cast. Now, I think they did a fantastic job casting the Addams Family themselves. I've been a big fan of Ortega for a while, even though I wasn't huge on Scream 5. I thought she was a real highlight in that movie. If you want to know all my thoughts on Scream 5, I have this obnoxiously long Scream video about all the Scream movies, which I love. But the whole family just really captures the vibes. I don't think they're all the best versions of these characters that we've had, but they're welcome additions to the Addams family. Wednesday's obviously who we spend the most time with, and characteristically, I really enjoyed how they played her. Deadpan delivery, sardonic, dry, almost never blinks. The only thing is that she ends up with some guys interested in her when she's like not nice at all, but I guess if they think she's cute, that's all that matters. However, the dance scene that everyone loves, which I also thought was great, and as my pal Friendly Space Ninja said, you can just slap that dance on almost any song, but it felt really out of character for her. I know it's basically paying homage to the classic show, but that doesn't mean it fits the current character. Like, yeah, she started to enjoy a few things in her own way, but dancing at a school-run dance? Dancing at all? But it's fine, it's neat. Everyone loves a good dance scene. Like, you guys know that I could not stop myself from watching that dance scene from the most recent season of Umbrella Academy. Outside that dancing, I feel like she stays true to her, like the character that they've set up with her through and through, but by the end of the show, she opens up to more people, which is nice. Her roommate Enid is the polar opposite. She's bubbly, colorful, filled with school spirit. She's a werewolf that hasn't wolfed out yet, so there's some like weird conversion therapy vibes there from her family. I don't know how that comparison logically follows through if she does end up just like wolfing out, but okay. Now I know a lot of people were shipping them together, but I didn't really feel it until like closer to the very end when they have this like extended hug. Then I was like, oh, okay, cute.
She's been smothering me with hospitality. I hope to return the favor in her sleep.
There's Xavier, who saves her from this falling gargoyle, and we find out that they'd met each other as kids. This is person one who's into her for no real explicable reason when she's just like rude as shit to him. She did make a big mark on his life though. I guess that first time they met, she saved him from being buried alive, so she's obviously very memorable to him, but he's a psychic who can bring his pictures to life, so he can have like visions in his sleep too. Bianca is his recent ex, a siren. She and Wednesday have a little rivalry going back and forth most of the season. The headmistress Weems is played by Brienne of Tarth, and she's great. Like, she's stern, was best friends with Morticia back in the day, but might be up to something a little nefarious and might have some residual jealousy towards Morticia for ending up with Gomez. They brought Christina Ricci back to be an awkward little normie teacher and dorm leader, which was really nice. I've always been a pretty big fan of her, and it's been great to see her recent track run with this and Yellow Jackets. Tyler, the local baristo, I guess, son of the town sheriff, he's simultaneously who Wednesday is the most, I wouldn't say kind to, but I guess tolerant of, but also still quite snarky to him. Definitely some feelings brewing on both sides there though, as much as Wednesday can display, I suppose. Now the sheriff doesn't like her because apparently her dad was accused of murder at one point when he went to Nevermore, and he still believes he's guilty. But that doesn't stop Wednesday from trying to give him information that she's uncovering about the monster and the mystery. Wednesday's therapist, Dr. Kinbot, she likes taxidermy animals, and Tyler also has court-ordered therapy with her. Love a good court-ordered therapy bonding. Then Eugene, this nerdy little guy who controls bees. I feel like he struggles the most with his line delivery, but his character is just so naturally awkward that it's fine. And of course, Thing, who is perfect. Honestly, just fully fledged beautiful personality with zero words. So now let's dive into the bulk of the show, which means spoilers. So if you don't want the, I don't know why you're here, but you should go, or you can stay and be spoiled. It's up to you. So as mentioned, just as Wednesday is trying to run away from Nevermore, she hits into another student, Rowan, and immediately has a vision of his death. So she chases after him, but then he tries to kill her. All because his mom told him about a prophecy that someday a girl who looks like this would bring about their downfall.
You know this one girl with hair like this? Yes, that's Wednesday Addams.
Man, it would have been real bad luck if someone just decided to like put in some pigtails one day, but okay. Thankfully, the student that tried to kill her ends up getting killed by the aforementioned monster, but then the question continues. Why didn't the monster kill Wednesday? Dumb luck, or did the monster go at that kid specifically to save her for some reason? And now we've got a mystery on our hands. Yeah. So now she's got to figure out what the hell this kid was talking about. Is she some bringer of doom, and what's going on with the monster? Because it gets weirder when the kid's just not dead anymore. But yeah, guys, he was pretty freaking dead. So Wednesday knows something nefarious is going on, and the sheriff also seems to know there's a monster lurking around too, but he's just been excusing it away as bear attacks. And almost immediately, it's revealed to us that the school is covering up Rowan's death. They don't want any unnecessary heat to fall on the school, and for some reason, the parents go along with it. Like, really, your kid was murdered by a mystery monster at large, and no one seems to be investigating it, and you're just like, cool with that? For like the betterment of outcast kind? Yeah, okay. You figure they'd have some kind of outcast specific investigators, but I guess not. But they achieved this trickery because Weems is a shapeshifter. You always love a good shapeshifter. So this serves a couple purposes. One, something's been introduced to us, the audience, that makes Weems' intentions questionable. Is she involved with the monster? Is she trying to cover up something a little bit more? Like, we don't find out until later that it was just an agreed upon cover up for some reason. But it's only the audience that knows she has anything to do with it right now. All Wednesday knows, thanks to Things Recon, is that kid goes into bathroom and disappears. We're the only ones shown that the man turns into Weems. Because the show seems to be laying the groundwork to both have us in a position of information power while also leaving us in the dark with character intentions. Eventually, Wednesday realizes that the picture that Rowan had has a symbol for an old student society on it called the Nightshades, and it's a symbol that she saw on the Post statue, which has a riddle on the book he's holding. And the ultimate solution to that riddle? Say what you will, that's adorable. And boom, secret library with the book Rowan ripped the picture out of and her parents' picture on the wall. And apparently the Nightshades are still meeting secretly, but is more of like a social group now, and she is not impressed.
She makes a killer virgin mojito. It can get pretty wild.
Wow, do you guys even have a bedtime?
So now she has the other side of the drawing, and it's some dude coming at her. And thanks to Xavier, she knows that this is Joseph Crackstone, the founder of Jericho, an apparent witch hunter, aka hunter of women who were uppity. So it seems like we have a historical prophecy on our hands, and Wednesday is the key. I just feel like this story is already getting a little bit too complicated, but let us continue on. She finds out that this girl that she had a vision of is her ancestor, Goody Addams. She was sentenced to death for being a witch, but managed to escape at the last second. We'll also learn in a later episode that Goody managed to get revenge and kills Crackstone, but she also started the original Nightshades to defend outcasts from normies, and eventually Nevermore Academy was built on Crackstone's old land. Now she realizes a lot of this by checking out the ruins of Crackstone's old council house, which is when the monster shows up. But again, doesn't hurt her for some reason, and then when she follows the tracks, they end up turning back into human prints. So it's been in this episode that I was very positive that Tyler was the monster. He's been helping her a lot with info, but he seems super interested in why she'd want to go to the ruins, and if it relates to the monster, generally seems nervous about her wanting to go out there. But the show really wants us to think it's Xavier. Right when she realizes the tracks change, Xavier is suddenly there, which is a classic red herring tactic. The episode even ends with him having scratches on his neck after we see the monster kill someone, and he has like a bunch of drawings of the monster in his secret shack. But that episode ending also pointed to Tyler. We're getting Wednesday monologuing about monsters when it cuts to Tyler screaming underwater in a tub with this voiceover.
There were monsters everywhere.
It's basically like, hey guys, look here. But that could also have been a red herring. So Xavier's explanation for having all these drawings of the monster is that it's invaded his nightmare, so he has to draw it out, but one of the drawings reached out and scratched him. But he is still Wednesday's #1 suspect. She found the monster's hidey cave and recovered a claw and starts finding things of Xavier's to test against it. Doesn't end up being a match, but that doesn't stop her. But every time she gets a new piece of information, something seems to try to sabotage where she just was. Just as the iconic dance scene is ending, Wednesday has a vision of Eugene getting attacked by the monster in the woods because he went out there to watch the cave alone to see if the monster would come out. But instead, someone basically blows up the cave and then the monster shows up. Thankfully, he doesn't die, just in critical condition for a while. You know, just long enough for him to not be able to give information to anybody about what he saw. And then things really ramp up. Like the coroner kills himself under suspicious circumstances and leaves a note saying he covered up an old crime and can no longer handle the guilt. That old case, the one that Wednesday's father was cleared of. And guess who happens to be in town for Parents' Weekend? Oh, what a convenient coincidence. This is a good old-fashioned setup. So it seems like on top of the ancient prophecy and the monsters, some piece of this mystery is linked to the murder of Garrett Gates. Apparently Gates was obsessed with Morticia, wouldn't accept that she wasn't into him, attacks Gomez, and then ends up on a crazed rampage for having his love stolen. So to save Gomez, Morticia stabs Gates, but then Gomez takes the blame but still ends up cleared, which pissed off the now sheriff at the time because he never understood how Gomez got off and wanted to give justice to the ruined Gates family. Apparently they all ended up dead, including Gates' sister. But it turns out that they never actually found the body to confirm the sister's alleged death, so I'm guessing she is not dead and this is some grandiose revenge plot. So her father's locked up, but Wednesday saves the day pretty fast. She comes up with this theory that Garrett was dealing with nightshade poisoning, meaning he was already going to die. But you know, even if someone was dying before they got stabbed, the stabbing is still what killed them. It just means that there's now a secondary culpable suspect. Either way, Wednesday gets a convenient flashback to fill in the gaps. Garrett's dad wanted him to poison the punch bowl at the Nevermore dance, then he sees Gomez and Morticia together, flies into a fit of rage, the vial breaks and absorbs into his skin, and boom, destined to die. And apparently the mayor already knows. He was the sheriff at the time and covered up the attempted poisoning as to not tarnish the Gates' reputation because they were a very wealthy and respected family. And to kind of cover up the fact that he never did anything with Morticia's complaints about Garrett stalking her. So our mystery continues on. Wednesday's trying to build up her connection to Goody to enhance her abilities, but Goody's essentially told her she'll be alone forever, which is turning into a self-fulfilling prophecy of her pushing everyone away. You know, more than she usually does. Somehow. But she's pretty sure that everything's connected to the Gates family now. And it seems like the mayor thought so too and ends up getting killed for getting too close to revealing the truth. The truth that Laurel, Garrett's sister, isn't dead. Wednesday then basically destroys any goodwill she had left with Enid and a little bit with Tyler by tricking them into going to the old Gates house to look for evidence. And of course there's a secret passage to an altar, love a good altar, and it's dedicated to Crackstone, saying he'll rise, so it looks like we have a little bit of a resurrection plot on our hands. Guys, I'm beginning to think that if Wednesday left town, bad things just might not happen. But the candles are still warm, so someone's been worshiping recently, and then they find jars with all the missing body parts that were taken from the monster victims, which is obviously when the monster shows up to scare them out. Conveniently, right as they left Tyler downstairs, who they find cowering in the entryway, apparently having narrowly escaped death, which is when Xavier shows up, because of course. So right here is when I 100% locked in Tyler as my monster choice. They're just using Xavier as a convenient decoy. And obviously by the time they get back to the house with the sheriff, the whole place has been cleared out. And everyone's pissed. Enid feels like she's been used and leaves their room. Weems is furious. The sheriff completely shut her down for almost getting his son killed. And she's actually upset about Enid leaving even if she doesn't want to admit it. But if we needed any more convincing that this is all somehow going to connect to Wednesday, whoever was using that altar has been stalking her. Just in time for Uncle Fester to come to town, who conveniently knows that the monster is a Hyde, as in like Jekyll and Hyde. I love it. And apparently all the answers to the details about what a Hyde is are in Nathaniel Faulkner's journal, the founder of Nevermore, who studied them extensively. Did we really need another mystery book? We're up to like 3 mystery books now. I don't even think I told you about the Book of Shadows that Goody wrote. But apparently Hydes are born with a mutation that lies dormant in them until a traumatic event, but they can also be brought out chemically or through hypnosis. Setting up for the therapist to be involved, which is further set up when she reveals the very next day that she's trained in hypnotherapy. So apparently whoever liberates this monster becomes its master. So if someone purposely unlocked that dormant mutation, they'd have control over the Hyde. So it seems like whoever woke the Hyde up is using it to do its bidding to set up this like larger prophecy. Tragically, Faulkner was killed by a Hyde before he could determine how aware the human was of the actions they committed, and they've been banned from Nevermore for 30 years as a result. So it's now obvious to Wednesday that Garrett Gates' sister Laurel isn't dead, and she's now seeking revenge against anyone involved in her family's misfortune. So Wednesday's family, the mayor for covering it up, the coroner for going along with it, and Nevermore as a whole. And because Wednesday's apparently a part of some Nevermore destruction prophecy, Laurel probably wants to use her to put that prophecy in motion. Again, things are just a little bit messy, but still fun to watch. But even with all the drama and potential dying, Wednesday goes on a real date with Tyler.
Prepare to be horrified.
Sun's up. It's a little after 12.
They watch Legally Blonde. He knows her so well. And I was pretty sure he was the monster at this point, so it was just a toss-up about how aware he was of his monsterly activities. But when she gets back from the date, Faulkner's journal is gone and things been stabbed by some heartless monster. Thankfully, Fester saves him, but it was a very tense couple minutes. So to me, it seemed like Tyler might have been getting her out of the dorm to make way for his partner to get to the journal because he saw Wednesday with it at the coffee shop. Like, she's not really careful with her secret research, but it's fine. So she goes to accuse Kinbot of being Laurel Gates and believes she unlocked Xavier's hide because she knows they're having secret sessions. But you know who else had sessions with Kinbot?
You should know I'm legally required to be here.
Me too. Court ordered.
And there he goes, killing Kinbot. I was right. Wednesday still thinks Kinbot is Laurel, even though the Hydes are supposed to be loyal to whoever unlocks them, and goes to accuse Xavier, who still maintains his innocence. But he still ends up arrested because Wednesday planted evidence around his shed. And then she goes to find Tyler to let him know that she wants to be more than just friends. Wednesday, come on, you're kissing a monster, which she thankfully has a vision of right away. Now, normally I'd say a monster would be a very good romantic choice for Wednesday, but maybe not under these circumstances. But instead of like telling anyone what she saw, she just decides to act on her own with other students. She finds out that Tyler's mom was most likely a Hyde, and her plan to get him to admit it or reveal it is to torture him. Couldn't they just have had like Bianca siren him into admitting it? Like, they can make people do anything they want, which I have to assume would include telling the truth. Like, she literally escaped from her mom, who runs a cult. Obviously, Weems stops her once the students go find her, and then the sheriff is somehow not pressing charges against her torturing his son as long as she ends up expelled. And it seems like Tyler might not actually be aware of his actions until...
What does it feel like?
What does what feel like?
To lose.
Man, I was really hoping that he actually liked her and was just being like compelled to do something he didn't want to. But honestly, Wednesday leaving is probably the best plan. If she's gone, the prophecy literally can't happen. But when she makes one last stop to visit Eugene, who's just woken up, he reveals that whoever blew up the monster cave was wearing red boots. Cause it was Christina Ricci all along. Look at her messing with nightshade poison. We already knew she was a normie teacher. There you go, all sorts of incentives to not like outcasts. So instead of hypnotherapy, she used chemicals to wake up Tyler's Hyde. The timeline here is kind of a mess though. It's either just really rough editing for her to be at the dance and then Eugene see her blow up the cave and then the monster is right there, but then right after Wednesday's vision, the teacher is there, but you know, it's fine. She reveals that killing normies and going after Wednesday were all just pieces of a bigger puzzle. And she lays it all out thinking this is Tyler here, but it's actually just a shape-shifted Weems, who she then kills, which is like the biggest bummer. I'm genuinely shocked they killed her off. Sure, she had some lingering jealousy towards Morticia, but she was cool. So the big plan is they were going to resurrect Crackstone. Apparently the Gates are descendants of him and she's continuing the family work of destroying outcasts, and they needed the body parts to resurrect him, so it's like Jeepers Creepers, but hopefully without a child, you know what, offender at the helm. And the only way to open his crypt with the curse the Goody put on it is with the blood of a direct ancestor, specifically Wednesday, so that's why she's prophesized to bring about the destruction of Nevermore. It's even Goody's spell book that allows all this to happen. By the end of this, it's really just going to be like, I saved the day. None of this would have happened if you weren't here. I saved the day. But obviously the whole gang gets involved to stop the destruction of Nevermore. Enid finally wolfs out and manages to take out Tyler and shout out Thing for being there and super supportive once Enid changes back. It's so damn cute. And then Wednesday takes on Crackstone and it is barely a challenge. I really thought they were setting that up to linger into like a future season if the show performed well, but like a quick distraction from Bianca gives her the chance to stab him in the heart and he's gone. Just like that. But then Laurel finally realizes, hey, guns exist, but is immediately thwarted by Eugene's bees. Team effort! Battle of Nevermore! But man, the brief moment where Enid doesn't know if Wednesday's alive and they hug? Yeah, I get the shipping, guys. They're adorable. And that's ultimately the lesson here. That Wednesday can stay her brooding, sardonic, dark self while still making room for other people that care about her. So damn cute. And the season ends with Xavier gifting her a cell phone to stay in touch, which she immediately starts getting stalker texts from, even though no one else should have her number. Amazing. So now we're wide open for season 2. Were Laurel and Tyler some part of a bigger conspiracy? Will Tyler break out? Probably. Will Bianca be forced to rejoin her mother's cult, and will the cult be a thing here? Who will the new head mistress or master be? Obviously, this is getting a second season. I will crack an egg on my head if it doesn't, unless it's something like the creative team completely falls apart. I don't believe Netflix cancels this show on their end. But yeah, I thought that was really fun. Like, it's a really messy shows in a lot of areas, and I feel like they might have just gone a little bit too deep with some of the logistics for the mystery. I really feel like they could have omitted a lot of that prophecy stuff and found a different reason to have like this build up of like outcasts being killed. They could have just gone way smaller and just had like a systemic attack on outcasts, like a serial killer of outcasts, if you will, and then maybe set up this like grand prophecy for a second season. To me, it would have really cleaned a lot of this show up and removed some of those plot conveniences, which aren't inherently bad. It's just one of those things that like the less you try to deep dive into it mentally, the better it feels. But that's Wednesday. Let me know what you guys are thinking down below. Did you love it? Did you hate it? I've gotten so many requests for this. I've seen some really weird arguments though, that some people are actually just offended that she even has bangs. Like, at least they weren't these Gale Weather bangs. But overall, I think this is a great vibe for an Addams Family adjacent show. Like, this felt like so much of what I wanted from Sabrina after I feel like Sabrina kind of shit the bed. And I'd rather see something new with these characters than just retreading what we already have. So yeah, let me know what you guys are thinking. That is going to do it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. Thanks as always to my YouTube channel members and Patreon supporters. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Leave a like on the video if you're into that kind of thing. All my social media are listed down below. I hope you're all having a fantastic day. I'm mostly okay, and we'll catch you all later. I had to do it.